Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our incredible event, CUACI Summit 2020 via webinar. The theme for our session today is Towards Recovery, Innovation and Reorientation as Strategies for the New Normal Era. I'm Natasya, an alumna of Curtin University Business School in Perth, Western Australia. I am one of the moderators of today's webinar, together with another Curtin Business School alumni Perth, Western Australia, Muhammad Fathurrahman.
Hi, and thank you, Natasya. Good day, everyone. It's nice to meet you guys.
Firstly, thank you to Curtin University Alumni Chapter Indonesia, or CUACI, for hosting and organizing this fantastic webinar for all of us today. We would also like to express our profound gratitude to all of you here. Thank you for your attendance and participation today. We truly appreciate it.
As we may know, 2020 has been very difficult and challenging for all of us. The COVID-19 pandemic has left no country untouched. It has humbled all of us. It does not care about our political differences, and it disregards the distinctions we draw between health and economy, lives, and livelihoods. We are very honored to be part of this webinar. The theme this year is Towards Recovery, Innovation, and Reorientation as Strategies for the New Normal Era. Now, we will break down our important agenda for today's webinar. Firstly, we would like to say happy birthday to CUACI. It is our 3rd anniversary this year. Although we have to celebrate it online, it doesn't reduce our excitement and joy. It's been a very wonderful 3 years full of learning, new experiences, and new colleagues. Secondly, we will also have a professional development session open for public, where we'll talk about innovation. As we know, we need to keep innovating in order to mitigate the circumstances of this pandemic. Today, we will have 2 amazing guest speakers that will discuss about efforts in mitigating the social and economic consequences of this pandemic. Our first speaker, Dr. Syaifullah Muhammad, will talk about innovative approach in increasing the added value of Indonesian local commodities for the international market. Meanwhile, our second speaker, Professor Jeremy Galbreath from Curtin University, will talk about how to be innovative after the crisis. Thirdly, we have some great news. CUACI will publish a book. Today, we will have an opportunity to have a sneak peek of the book. This CUACI project book will be led by Dr. Toto Widianto and the authors. And last but not least, we will have CUACI annual general meeting with all the members to evaluate the activities in previous year and also the plan for next year. So, before we start the CUACI Summit, we will take a moment to sing the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Then we take a minute to pray together based on our faith. Let's pray, begin. Amin. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's continue our CUACI Summit 2020. First of all, we would like to say welcome to Professor Simon Leunick, Prof. Vice Chancellor and President of Curtin Malaysia, Bu Ayu Resla, the representative from the Government of Western Australia Indonesia Office, Bu Karina Santika and Pak Roy Jackson from the Australia Global Alumni, Professor Jeremy Galbreath and Dr. Syaifullah Muhammad, Mr. Tim McInnes and Jai Sehupa from Curtin Alumni Office Perth, Bu Patricia Kelly, In-Country Recruitment Executive Indonesia of Curtin International, Bu Yani and Pak Yosef, representative from CUACI, it's Queensland University of Technology Alumni Indonesia Chapter, President Chapters from Malaysia, Ms. Jane Teh, from Singapore, Mr. Edmund, from Hong Kong, Ms. Ruby, from Sri Lanka, Mr. Lakmal, from Curtin Young Alumni Advisory Board, Ms. Emily, and also the community members of each chapter. Natasha, why don't we say hi to the Curtin alumni from all over the world? Hi guys, hello to all the
Hello everyone, welcome and nice to meet you. We would like to say hi to everyone. And for all the Zoom participants, please show thumbs up reactions. Right, thank you guys for the thumbs up. Okay, before we start, our CUACI President Pak Heri Bertus would like to say a few words. Pak Heri, please, the screen is yours.
Ya, terima kasih. Thank you, Christine and Fatur. First of all, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome, Professor Simon Leunick, Prof. Vice Chancellor and President of Curtin Malaysia. Thank you very much for coming today. Selamat datang, welcome Bu Ayu, representative from the Government of Western Australia Indonesia Office. Selamat pagi Bu Karina, from the Australia Global Alumni. Professor Jeremy Galbreath and also Dr. Syaifullah. Thank you. Your availability with the presentation, amazing presentation today. Thank you. And Mr. Tim McInnes, thank you for coming from Curtin Alumni Office Perth. Bu Patricia Kelly, Bu Yani dan Pak Yosef, and President Chapters, Curtin University President Chapters. Hello Jen from Curtin University Alumni Chapter Malaysia. We also invite Edmund from Singapore, Mr. Edmund, Miss Ruby from Hong Kong, Mr. Lakman from Sri Lanka, Miss Emily from Curtin Young Alumni Advisory Board, and also good morning, everyone, committee members, all committee members, and everyone. And welcome Bu Josephine, our previous CUACI President, and also the advisor for the CUACI Committee this year. On behalf of CUACI, we would like to thank everyone for joining this CUACI Summit 2020. We are really happy that you can join our 3rd anniversary celebration. Every year, we conduct an annual event. In 2018, we held our first annual general meeting in Surabaya. And then last year, we held the CUACI Summit 4.0 or CUACI Summit 2019 in Jakarta. This year, as our responses to the new normal after the COVID-19 situation, we will highlight the efforts made in the recovery period through CUACI Summit 2020, with theme towards recovery, innovation, and reorientation as strategies for the new normal era. As we know that there is an urgent need to strengthen partnership for knowledge and innovation as part of resilient strategies and policies. As mentioned by Mas Fatur and also Mbak Christine, this CUACI Summit will consist of professional development session with Professor Jeremy and also Dr. Syaifullah. And also we will have the CUACI book project session in the afternoon and also CUACI annual general meeting. Curtin alumni have various backgrounds from academics, researchers, professionals, entrepreneurs, and many more. And many of them work in a strategic position in Indonesia. Having studied at a university is one of the experiences that brings us together. So we hope that by conducting this event, this CUACI Summit 2020, It can strengthen the alumni networks in Indonesia, not only Indonesia, but also with other alumni, other Curtin University alumni overseas, and also the relationship between Indonesia and Australia, and also with other partners. Last but not least, we hope that you enjoy the event today, and we hope that you can gain insights from the event, from the CUACI Summit. Happy 3rd anniversary CUACI, all the best. Thank you. I will hand over to Mas Fathur and Mbak Christine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Heribertus. And then we will have opportunities for the guests to say hello and greet all the participants. Let's start with Miss Jente from Malaysia. Miss Jente, please, the screen is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Christine. Thank you so much, Harry. Happy birthday, CUACI, right? 3rd anniversary, happy birthday. Thank you so much for having us. It's amazing to see such a fantastic crowd, online crowd. Hello, Indonesia. Hi from Malaysia. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Jente. Next, we'll have Ibu Ayu Restilia, the representative from the Government of Western Australia, Indonesia office.
Thank you, Bu Christine. Everyone can hear me? I hope so. Yes, I'm Ayu, Education BDM for Government of Western Australia. Thank you for this invitation today to us. On behalf of our Commissioner, Ibu Jennifer Matthew, we would like to say hello to all of you. It is so much to look forward to all of us, I believe, to be together again. I can only imagine of this very strong alumni community, CUACI, how you miss to see your ex-classmate, colleague, just like last year. So, and indeed, it is something to be proud of to be connected with Australian university graduates. Curtin University has been tremendously good on bringing well education to the world and keeping the recognition higher every year. Government of Western Australia is focusing on crisis relief program at the moment through Study Perth to support international students. So we can keep on delivering well education quality. More information and scholarship support is available on Study Perth official website. And with that, I would like to wish you all a very good day. And I'm hoping everybody stays healthy and safe during this challenging time until we see you all again, hopefully next year. Thank you, Pak Heri and everybody.
Thank you, Ibu Ayu Restilia. Next, we will have Ibu Karina from Australia Global Alumni in Indonesia. Please, Ibu Karina, the screen is yours, Bu.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for this opportunity for on behalf of the Australia Global Alumni. It's great to participate in such event, and this is my first time on the Global Alumni team. And yeah, I'm very excited to participate in this event and look forward on future collaboration, hopefully in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Bu Karina. Next, we'll have Mr. Tim McInnes from Curtin University Alumni and Relations, who will deliver the opening. Thank you, Mr. McInnes. The screen is yours.
Okay, can we do a sound check? Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you, Christine and Muhammad and Hattie for this invitation. I consider it a real privilege to be able to offer some opening remarks at today's Impact and Innovation Alumni Summit. Now, I understand we have a long list of distinguished alumni who may be joining us today. And I think it'd be only proper and appropriate for me to recognize who they are. Dr. Puspasari, Ahmad Setiwan, Tatang Mutakan, Professor Kisworo, Professor Ashadi, Professor Benu, Mangadad Sitamarang, and Professor Harjito. A warm welcome to all of you if you are here, and of course, to all alumni who are joining us today. All right, so I have to say that I wish that we were all together, and I look forward to the next opportunity for a summit when we all can be together. That national anthem was so beautiful. I think I might actually try to learn how to sing it with you when we're all together next, okay? Well, that will be my pledge to you. When thinking about this opportunity to speak today, I thought I would start by relaying a story So many of you will know my colleagues, Jose Hooper and Carolyn Robson, who have been managing my alumni relations team for the past few years. They're really incredibly hardworking and wonderful people. On my first day at Curtin University, which was just last December, I asked them a very simple question. What do we want from our alumni? And they looked at me and they thought that I got the question backwards. They said, do you mean what do our alumni want from us? And I said, I think I know what they want from us, or at least I think I know what three big things are. Firstly, alumni want us to be a university they are proud of. We are their educational brand. And the stronger we are as a university, the better their job prospects and their social status will be. Secondly, alumni want strong connections to the university and to each other. They want to be kept aware of the progress of the university, the research and the knowledge that flows out of it, particularly in today's knowledge economy. And they want to be networked with each other around shared interests and for job prospects, for opportunities. And thirdly, in my many conversations with alumni, I know that they want an opportunity to give back. A university education is not an easy thing to acquire, nor should it be. Chances are all of our graduates were helped in many formative ways by teachers and other staff at the university. And being at a university was a defining time in their lives, and they're grateful. Many would like to give back, but they just don't know how. So having said this to my colleagues, Jose and Caro, I wonder if we could all now take a moment and reflect. Of these three things, how is Curtin University tracking? Well, with respect to being a university to be proud of, the good news is that Curtin University, your alma mater, continues to climb in the league tables. We have just been awarded multiple 5-star ratings in the Good Universities Guide. We rank first in Western Australia in graduate outcomes, staff qualifications, student engagement, and in learning resources. Our medical school is ranked #1 in Australia for overall student experience and for teaching quality. How important is that in this time of COVID? And the academic ranking of World Universities 2020 has just been released, and Curtin has maintained its ranking in the top 1% of universities worldwide and placed 9th in Australia out of 40 universities. So in short, I think we're doing a fairly good job in burnishing the Curtin University brand for all of our graduates, and we will continue to do so. I fully expect that one day we will be one of the most successful global universities with a big presence across ASEAN countries. Now, with respect to the second point, namely keeping alumni closely connected with the university and with each other, we are trying to do this as effectively in as many ways as we possibly can with 250,000 alumni, which is actually a very big job for a small alumni team of just 3 people. So for example, we regularly publish alumni news to keep graduates informed on the progress of the university. We encourage connection through social media, and we have LinkedIn pages for alumni that are both open and closed. We disseminate notes from the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor and faculty PVCs and heads of school. We put together alumni achievement and award programs. We organize alumni chapters. We organize alumni engagement events for schools, faculties, and institutes, and we do so much more. Of course, we could always do better, and we would always appreciate your good ideas on how we can best keep you connected with the university and with each other. But on the third point, that of giving our alumni the opportunity to give back, I think the university could be doing better, which goes to the question I asked of Jose and Caro. What do we want from our alumni? Because if we don't know, if we are unclear, we cannot expect our alumni to know. We are not able to give them, to give each of you the opportunity to give back that you are looking for. And so many graduates have said to me, Tim, just tell me how you could use my help. So I have challenged my team to think carefully about how we might ask you to help the university in the months and the years ahead, and how you might be able to give back in a way that you find particularly meaningful to you. And really, if you think about it, there are 3 strategic areas where we could use the help of alumni. These areas are just 3 areas that every good university should be focusing on. They are excellence in research and innovation, in producing knowledge. Number 2, excellence in teaching, learning, and the student experience. And thirdly, excellence in impact and engagement within our many communities and within our many countries. So there are countless ways we can use your help in each of these areas, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from my team over the course of the next year or so on how we can give you the opportunities to do so. As examples, we could use your active interest in advancing the Curtin mission across the ASEAN region. We could use your most amazing, spectacular ideas and expertise in a broad range of research and innovation areas. We could use your help in promoting the Curtin brand whenever and wherever. We could use your influence in the communities in which we operate in order to help Curtin with its various initiatives. We could use your help in giving your time in mentoring our students. We could use your help with student internships and with job placements. And we could use your financial contributions for things like scholarships and research programs. With the last of these, financial contributions, you might ask, why is this important? And the answer is really simple. The best universities in the world typically have a very strong alumni body that helps secure the value-adding resources, the extra funding to help them with their missions. Princeton University, for example, one of the finest universities in the world, has 60% of its alumni who make annual gifts to the university to make sure it is able to achieve excellence in mission, and then even more excellence in mission. So let me pause to just reflect on that. 60%. That figure would be equivalent to 150,000 Curtin graduates making a financial gift each year. If the average gift size was $100 as an average, that would equate to $15 million being generated each year for the support of Curtin's mission of excellence. Not for anyone's pay package, not for any institutional folly, but strictly for excellence in research, for excellence in tertiary education, and excellence in engagement. And really, that's what universities are about, mission. And our mission at Curtin University is to make tomorrow better, more prosperous, more just and inclusive, more healthy, and more environmentally sustainable for the communities and countries in which we have our campuses, for the ASEAN region where many of our graduates live, and for the world generally. This is not an easy task, and we will be needing your help with the exciting challenges that lie ahead. But please don't feel you need to wait for Caro or Jose or me to be in touch with you. While we can think and act globally, we can't always be alongside you to think and act locally. Please use whatever opportunities you might have to help advance the Curtin mission. We would truly love your help, and I have a wonderful team standing by to help give you that opportunity. In conclusion, thank you for this opportunity to address you in this time of COVID. I am very grateful to you for your kindness and generosity and goodwill for Curtin University and for one another. And I fervently hope that next year I'll be able to be with you in person. Until that happy moment, I wish you all the very best, and please stay safe. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Tim McInnes. Last but not least, Professor Simon Leonig, Vice Chancellor and President of Curtin Malaysia, will deliver opening remarks and officially begin the CUACI Summit 2020. Professor Simon Leonig, Please, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Christine. Just a quick sound check. Can people hear me okay?
Yep, it's good.
Okay, good. So I'd like to send also my regards to Pak Harry, and it's fantastic to see him, plus my colleagues from Curtin, Tim, Jose and Caroline, who are all here. I have very fond memories of the very first CUACI celebration 3 years ago. And unfortunately, at the moment, I'm stuck in Perth, along with the Australian ambassador to Indonesia, who's stuck in Australia as well. And indeed, Jenny Matthews, who's also stuck in Australia. So I don't have my, my CUACI batik to wear, but I did find, I don't know if you can see that, my CUACI tie. So I've got that here just as a memento of those times. And it's fantastic to see from those early days that CUACI continues to grow and be strong. But I've had discussions with Tim and the rest of the alumni group because obviously Curtin Malaysia and is very close to Indonesia. In fact, Curtin Malaysia on the same island as Kalimantan. And we're looking forward to actually bringing the Indonesian and the Malaysian groups together. So fantastic to see Jane Tay and others here from Malaysia as well. And Jane's a very hard worker in the Curtin alumni group from Malaysia. So fantastic that those relationships are starting to develop. Just very quickly on Curtin Malaysia, we obviously after COVID, recovery as we move into 2021, we will be looking at really strengthening our research areas, particularly in rural entrepreneurship, which has a lot of attraction for Indonesia, and also in the area of aquaculture. And we already have our very first PhD student from Indonesia in aquaculture as well. So there's quite a bit happening in that space, in that research space. And I see the links with Indonesia in an ongoing way being very, very important. I'd just like to remind any of the alumni here that an alumni of Curtin University is an alumni of all of the campuses. And so you're always very, very welcome to interact with our staff and other groups. And indeed, if we can work together on projects, whether they be industrial engagement projects or research, more than happy to have those discussions. So Harry, Christine, I wish you all the best for today. Fantastic to see that the early efforts of Josephine Ratner and others have come together and have grown CUACI to be what it is. And it's an exemplar of the alumni associations, alumni chapters that we have. So good luck for today and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Simon. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin our professional development session soon. Firstly, the presentation from our speakers will be around 40 to 45 minutes each, then followed by Q&A session for 20 to 25 minutes through Slido. We will share the Slido link during the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to share it with us through Slido through s.id/CUACI Summit 2020 QA. Don't forget, everyone, attendance link will be shared during the Q&A session. Please do insert your full name and email address precisely, as the information will be recorded in order to issue the certificates of attendance. This event is going to be recorded and will be uploaded on CUACI YouTube channel, which means we can watch it over and over again on CUACI YouTube channel. So please, everyone, don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thank you. Fathur, back to you.
Thanks, Natasya. So let's introduce our intelligent speakers to our participants. Firstly, we have Dr. Syaifullah Muhammad. He is a professor at Chemical Engineering Department of Syiah Kuala University, Banda Aceh, Indonesia. He obtained a PhD and Master Engineering degree in Chemical Engineering from Curtin University, Western Australia, with research area of nanoparticle technology and wastewater treatment. Dr. Syaiful has published many academic research papers in international journals with Scopus H index of 10. Since 2016, Dr. Syaiful has become the head of Atsiri Research Center of Syiah Kuala University, and currently he is also a project leader of Innovation Cluster of Aceh Patchouli Oil conducted by the Ministry of Research and Technology, the Republic of Indonesia. In 2018, Dr. Syaiful won the Innovation Awards from Curtin University, Western Australia, and in 2019, he won Nilam Heritage Award from Nilam Patchouli Aceh Society. Since 2019, Dr. Syaiful has also been a chairman of the Aceh Australian Alumni.
Secondly, we also have Professor Jeremy Galbreath, who is from Curtin University School of Management, Perth, Western Australia. Professor Galbreath's teaching vision is to create a dynamic, interactive environment where students can explore the bigger picture of the role and function of business. In order to do that, students need to think creatively, strategically, and innovatively. By harnessing knowledge from his own personal work experience and formal learning, he tries to develop the mind of the strategists that can steer firms over the long term, benefiting stakeholders and advancing society. As a business professional, he spent over 15 years in various capacities, but mainly had responsibility for business unit and corporate strategy development in Fortune 50 and venture. In 2002, United States pursued PhD in strategic management in Australia. Completing the degree in 2005, he subsequently accepted a postdoctoral research fellowship at Curtin University and now serves in the capacity of associate professor. He is also a strategic advisor to a local first startup company. Okay, so without further ado, we would like to let Pak Syaifullah Muhammad first in his presentation. Today, he will talk about innovative approach in increasing the added value of Indonesian local commodities for the international market. Pak Syaiful, please, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I will try to share my presentation first. I hope everyone can hear and see this presentation. Okay. Right. Today I will talk about innovative approach in increasing the added value of international local commodities for international market. The moderator have introduced me just now. I am Syaifullah Muhammad. I am lectures at Syiah Kuala University, Chemical Engineering. And in 2018, I got Innovation Award from Curtin University regarding my work in Syiah Kuala University, Banda Aceh. Okay. Now I can start my PowerPoint slides. I will share again. Right. This video is present about our activity in my research center, Atsiri Research Center of Syiah Kuala University. Atsiri is essential oil. So Indonesia is one of the biggest producers of essential oil in the world. Yeah, we have eucalyptus, we have lemon, citronella, patchouli, and many others. Yeah, particularly for patchouli oil, Indonesia is produce 90% of world patchouli demand. It's export to many countries from Singapore, including to Australia. This is Indonesia essential oil map. Yeah, from Aceh until Papua, we have a lot of essential oil. They have been export to many countries in the world. Yeah. Now we try to look for Aceh main commodity. We have 10 local commodity of Aceh. Number one is nilam. Yeah, nilam is in English we call patchouli oil. It's a natural compound of the patchouli. It has been used many years for the industry in the world. Yeah, especially for fragrance, perfume in France, United States, and many other countries. In Aceh, among 23 districts in Aceh, we have 16 districts has patchouli. Yeah, so patchouli is one of the main commodity in Aceh. Actually, the history of Aceh patchouli oil in a very long story. Yeah, we call nilam. Nilam actually the Dutch company that organize trading activity for the patchouli oil in the world. Yeah, nilam actually stand for Netherlands Indies Landbouw Aceh Maskapix. This is one of the biggest company in the colonial era. This is one of the journal we got from the Netherlands Museum. They talk about Aceh patchouli oil has been published in 1932. In the past, we export the patchouli plant, not the oil. Yeah, in form of the plant. So after we got the independence, freedom from the Dutch, we export the oil. We process in Indonesia and export to the world. What is the patchouli content and benefit of patchouli oil? Yeah, it's a lot of function of patchouli oil, such as antivirus, yeah, and then also antibacterial, and also many other function of the patchouli. So this is the natural product that really good for the cosmetic industry and also for pharmaceutical industry and many others. Yeah, until now, actually, 90% of the world's patchouli need is come from Indonesia, and 70% of them it's ever come from Banda Aceh, from Aceh. But now, the production of patchouli from Aceh is very down. Yeah, it's only around 10 to 15%. However, yeah, in the Indonesia always blending patchouli from other province with the Aceh patchouli, because Aceh patchouli oil has the unique characteristic. Yeah. This is the traditional refinery unit for process patchouli from the plant until the oil. Yeah, in 2015, I went around to every district in Aceh. I got a meeting with community. Yeah, I have to climb the mountain. and then talk to everyone, talk to the government, talk to the community, talk to the NGOs and many stakeholders to find what is the problem, why Aceh has very, very good commodity for world industry, but our community is still in poor. From this journey, I got a lot of problems. We got around 24 problems. It's consists of many issues. Actually, it can be divided for groups. For groups problem. Upstream, number one, upstream of farm agro industry. Upstream of farm talk about the fertilizer, about the seeding, about the pesticide and others. And number two, it's on-farm agro-industry. On-farm is how to plant the pacholi and to how to maintain and also talk about harvesting and others. And the third one, this is about the downstream. Downstream explore about the refinery process, about the machine, about the waste, and also derivative products of pacholi. And the fourth subsystem is a supporting subsystem. It's about market, financing, and also research and many others. So the 24th problem is included in 4 subsystems. Then in Aceh, we have a regional document. We have here a roadmap of Atsiri Aceh. Atsiri means essential oil. And we also have master plan for Sikkim. Sikkim is a sentra industri kecil menengah, like a small industry for pacholi in Aceh. And also we have a master plan for innovation cluster conducted by Ministry of Research and Technology. And also we have action plan for the pacholi industry in Aceh. We develop 3 main strategy. We call inclusive innovation. We also create the very, very strong roadmap and master plan. And also we develop pentahelix approach for synergy between university, government, business, community, and media. Then we try to implement our roadmap and master plan, with inclusive approach, where all community group have the opportunity to participate and be involved in decision-making process. This is what we call inclusive innovation, and also in all communities, all community groups involved in creating and actualizing opportunity, and also receive the benefit of innovation process. We try to make a memorandum of understanding and also agreement with many stakeholders, such as Bapeda. Bapeda is the planning board of Aceh development, and also government of Aceh Jaya district, and also central bank, central bank of Bank Indonesia, and also from private sector we have agreement with PT Haldin, PT General Aromatik, PT Aceh Kutaraja Aromatik, and also Koperasi Industri Nilam Aceh. So these 5 components of stakeholders then create together the innovation from ideas until advanced market. In 2000, at the end of 2016, we established our research center. We call Atsiri Research Center, Syiah Kuala University. We do some collaboration with Korea at that time, and also with community, with government, and many other stakeholders. This is the agreements, with stakeholders. And then we build our team. Our team consists of many experts from many fields, from agriculture, engineering, business, and until Internet of Things, and many others expertise. So this is our theme in 2020. Yeah. And also this is our master plan. This a bit small, but actually this talk about four subsystem: upstream, off-farm, agro-industry, and then on-farm and downstream, and also supporting subsystem. We then try to develop what we call stakeholders analysis, what the government has to do, what a parliament has to do, what the private sector has to do, academician, NGOs, many things. So we try to make a job description, and then we develop together how to implement this program. We built this thing, in 2017. 2017. One of the important thing here is we define the price of patchouli oil. The minimum price of patchouli oil, it should be 500,000 rupiah per kilo, because this is the good price for our commodity to improve their life. And also to develop their income generating for daily activity. We also create the roadmap for our institution, Atsiri Research Center, and also we develop for research roadmap until 2022. This is the very important strategy. We call a technological readiness level. Usually, the university in Indonesia, it should be follow this step, from the TRL1 until to TRL9, This is very, very long time. From 1 until 9, it's very, very long time process. Usually, our university create the research and then try to develop some products, industrial product. And then we follow the step until TRL9, and then we send the product to the industry. We send the product to the community. This is take a very, very long time. In our research center, Atsiri Research Center, we don't follow this step. When we develop the TRL1, 2 until 4, and then we jump to 9. We test the product to the market, we send the product to the market, and then we got some feedback from the market, and then we can revise and improve our technological readiness level in 8, 7, and 6. With this way, we can cut the time, we can send directly the product to the market, and then we can improve step by step, depend on response from the market. In 2017 until 2018, we got some grant from the government. It's about 3.14 billion rupiah. And then also in 2019, we got 3.4 billion rupiah. In 2020, because of COVID disaster, we only got 2.3 billion for develop many programs in our research center. Then with this money, with this fund, we develop many facility in our research center. We have a Nino Park. Nino Park is a Nilam Innovation Park. We have a greenhouse here. We develop Internet of Things here. We do some nursery and many others. And then also we try to create the market innovation strategy. This thing we can see. This is the white color. That I draw this one. This is we call red ocean. Red ocean market. Red ocean market, and this one is a blue ocean market. What happened in the red ocean market? In red ocean market, everybody beat the competition. With others. So it's very hard to find the oil of Aceh patchouli here, because every single patchouli has been bought by every exporter and sent to abroad. So this is not easy for our community to do some competition with the big company here. And then we develop what we call blue ocean market. We develop the product of the farmers. We have another product of the farmers, and then we establish a trading house. We support the government to initiate the new market of the pacholi and many others. So with this strategy, we don't need to fight here. We don't need to fight in this area because this is very hard to win with the big company. In our research center, we develop a pacholi nursery in Banda Aceh and also Aceh Besar and also in Aceh Jaya district. Yeah, we develop the nursery, and then we also develop a tissue culture technology in our research center. We can improve the quality of pacholi seed with the tissue culture. In Indonesia, we call kultur jaringan. And also, this is our greenhouse at Nino Park. Yeah, this is the nursery in Nino Park. We develop many kind of pacholi plant here. Okay, we also develop the biopesticide. Yeah, biopesticide is developed by Professor Rina Sriwati. I think Professor Rina also in our forum today, and also we develop mycorrhiza organic fertilizer for support the pacholi plant in our community. With these two things, we can increase the production of pacholi plant. Yeah, it's almost 250%. Yeah, comparing the traditional way by the community. And this is the Center of Pacholi Innovation Cluster. We got the plan from the Aceh Jaya district. Yeah, this is the decree of the region from Aceh Jaya district. In this area, we will build the plan for pacholi refinery. We also develop the planting program with the community. Yeah, and we try to give some assistance to the farmers. Yeah, how to plant the pacholi with the good agriculture practice. And also we have some project in Gayo. Yeah, this is our project with L'Oreal Paris. Yeah, so the friend company has been come to this land and see what happened, what the farmer have to do with this industrial product. We also do some pilot project program for local economic development. This is collaboration between Central Bank of Indonesia and ARC of Syiah Kuala University. We create the nursery. We plan the we teach the community how to plant the pacholi and many others. And we also organize the a class for the farmers, in this area. So the village leader buy the land, and then the land has been dedicated for develop the program. This is also one of the very good team in ARC. Yeah, we have Pak Toto here. I think Pak Toto also one of CUACI member, yeah. And then this is our project with Pak Toto. Yeah, we develop IoT, so we call a vertigasi system. So everything can be controlled by the application in the mobile phone. This is the traditional extractor. Yeah, almost all the refinery unit in our community use the machine like this. So this is very traditional way, and it's a result in a very low quality of the pacholi. Then we develop the innovation for the extractor machine. Yeah, I got money from the rector of Syiah Kuala University to develop innovation to do intervention in the process of refinery. So with this machine, we have it developed in our research center. We can get very high quality of the pacholi oil and can be directly sent to abroad, yeah, for the industrial company. This is kind of the product of the pacholi. And then also this machine, we develop teaching industry for our student. So the student can learn directly from the machine in the industrial scale, not only in laboratory scale. Then we also have the rotary vacuum evaporator. Right? With this machine, we develop two kinds of patchouli oil. The first one we call a light fraction of patchouli oil. The second one is a heavy fraction of patchouli oil. Then we try to check in the laboratory with a gas chromatography analysis. Yeah, we got the very high quality of patchouli oil with patchouli alcohol content of 79%. Yeah, actually, if we got only 90%, we can develop this thing to fragrance and perfume. This is also a gas chromatography analysis, so we can produce patchouli oil with patchouli alcohol content 43, yeah, 44, 50, 55, and also 60 and until 79. With this thing, we then develop the products. Yeah, this is a kind of product we call nilam. Yeah, nilam is kind of perfume that very high quality. So this perfume, because of patchouli alcohol from the patchouli plant, it can be stand until 12 hours, yeah, in our body. So it will be long lasting aroma when we use the fragrance. So in 2020, yeah, in early 2020, we got this machine. Yeah, we call this machine WFF. Yeah, white film fractionation machine. This is from BPPT. Yeah, Badan Pengkajian dan Penerapan Teknologi from Ministry of Research and Technology. This is very expensive machine, but now we have it in our research center. Then we try to develop the products. Yeah, we do some product launching. Yeah, we organize the student to develop many products, and then our university leader launching the product. This is kind of product in our research center. Yeah, this is the perfume, nilam perfume. This is patchouli body salve. This is medicated oil. Yeah, this is aromatherapy. This is hair tonic, hand sanitizer, and many others product. Yeah, body lotion and many others product. So our product also branding in Korea. Yeah, with the brand of Hiloma. Hiloma is the Korean brand, but we got premium fee from this program. Yeah, Hiloma stands for healing aroma. That is Aceh patchouli oil. It's brand in Korea. And also we organize many inspiration session with students. Yeah, I don't remember how many session we have done with this with the student. So a lot of students, we try to give them some skill, inspiration, and many others to develop the product from the patchouli. Then we organize the student also to attend many competition, local and national, and also international competition. They can win many prize, yeah, from the competition with their product. This is one of the example of the students' activity. Yeah, start from 2015. Yeah, from my class, we have a process in chemical industrial process subject in chemical engineering department, and then we develop students group to develop many products. And then in 2019, yeah, they have the PT. Yeah, yes. So start from class, now they have the company. Yeah, with the PT. They call the Aceh PT Aceh Kutaraja Aromatic. So they have many activity, yeah, in Malaysia, in Jakarta, and many others. And also we we help the community to conduct many startup training, and also we got some testimony from the community. Yeah, they said that our perfume is very high quality. So this my friend Ibu Indar, he spray the Nilam perfume kepada jilbabnya, ya, and then after 5 days the smell is still in her jilbab, ya, scarf. Then in 2020, we also developed we call Koperasi Inopak, ya, Koperasi Inopak, Inopak Kooperatif. Koperasi Inopak, Inopak is innovation, inovasi Nilam Aceh. In 1 year, yeah, in 1 year, they have omset, very good omset, yeah, about 2 billion rupiah. This is our production house in our research center. Yeah, we produce hand sanitizer. We produce also hand wash, body wash, and many others product. And then also we selling the product in Banda Aceh Mall and also online selling. Yeah, this is kind of product in online. And also this year, 2020, yeah, 2020, we established PTU Green International. This is collaboration between Koperasi Inopak, yeah, and also Nut Green from France. This is Zaira. Zaira is a director of PTU Green Aromatic International. And also last week, I think, yeah, last week we launching the new product of our research center. We have the new variant of Nilam. We have Alkina Care. We have hand sanitizer. Yeah, we have many products. And then we also done MOU with friend. This is PT General Aromatic representative of Payan Betran, Prancis. Yeah, and also we signed the other MOU with Nut Green France. Yeah, this is from Nut Green France from Paris, and also we MOU for a national research priority project in Jakarta. We also make agreement with PT Haldin Pacific Semesta. PT Haldin has 6 plantation in Indonesia, one of the three biggest company in the world for extraction. And we sign MOU with Central Bank in Indonesia, in Aceh. We do collaboration with Atsiri, Institute Atsiri Brawijaya. Now our research center has been visit, yeah, by many guests from many countries. One of the guests is Professor Moses. Yeah, this is Professor Moses from Curtin University. This is my supervisor when I did my master and PhD at Curtin University. This is from France, Japan, yeah, Australia, UK. This is from UK. This is from Germany, and many professors come to my research center and try to do some collaboration. In 2019, we got Madani Award from government. We got also Gemilang Award from government. We also got Innovation Award from Curtin University. This is me. This is Dr. Puspa. This is Dr. Agus. Yeah. We also visit our university and many places in Perth in 2018. Very nice. And this is I got Nilam Heritage Award at 2019, and this is the MOU with PT Haldin in front of the Minister of Research and Technology in Jakarta, and I also invited by the previous former minister, yeah, Pak Natsir. I talked to 34 provinces in Indonesia because government said what we have done in Aceh, it should be replaced by many provinces in Indonesia. We talk in international conference, and also we talk to governor. This is our governor in Aceh, and also I was invited to Korea to present our work in Banda Aceh, and also in 28 February of 2020, yeah, 2020. This is formal ceremony for WFF mission by Menristek. Yeah, this is the Minister of Research and Technology, and also this is the conclusion. I think, yeah, this is the supply and value chain of pacoli industry in Indonesia. Start from raw material until consumer. Yeah. So the blue one, yeah, the blue one is what we have done to do intervention, yeah, for the supply and value chain for industrial market. So we have done a lot thing, yeah, to create programs, yeah, to do some collaboration with many stakeholders to develop industrial process in Aceh. This is one of international news from Curtin University. I got this one from Curtin website, and this is many, hundreds news from local and national government about our work. And this is the conclusion, yeah. 4 things that is very important for us. Think big with confidence, get support from community, knowledge-based innovation, and strong teamwork. I think this is my presentation. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation, Dr. Syaifullah Muhammad. And as a summary from Dr. Syaiful, petroleum oil is considered one of the best essential oils in the world. There are 3 main strategies for the innovation. Firstly, it is based on inclusive innovation. Secondly, pentahelix approach, collaboration with government, university, business, community, and media. And thirdly, developing a roadmap and master plan. Hopefully, by using this innovative approach, it can increase the added value of Indonesian local commodities for the international market. The most important thing is that it can contribute to the local communities in Indonesia. We hope it can inspire others to keep innovating and being creative. All the best for Nilam, Pak Syaiful.
Thank you.
Once again, we would like to remind all of you who wish to ask any question, please go to Slido by clicking the link on the chat group.
Okay, next we'll have a presentation from our second guest speaker, Associate Professor Jeremy Galbreath from School of Management, Curtin University, and he will talk about lifting your innovation IQ. So without further ado, Professor Galbreath, the screen is yours.
Great, thank you very much. Everybody, just by a quick way of introduction, probably at least 15 years ago, I actually came to Jakarta to deliver some executive education. So I've actually been in Jakarta, and I remember it was just for the weekend, but I got a nice tour of the city on the Sunday and really had a really nice time. And I really wish that I could have been there in person with you today, but obviously under the current circumstances, that's we're not able to do that. So let me just say welcome from Perth, and it's pretty sunny, a few little clouds in the sky, but it's a beautiful, almost spring-like day today in Perth. So what I want to talk about with respect to my presentation, and by way of introduction, back in March of this year, I was actually in Auckland in New Zealand, and I literally got out of New Zealand about a week before everything went into lockdown. So came back to Perth, and then maybe just a few weeks later, I was asked by Danelle Cross, who some of you might remember that name or know that name. Danelle Cross actually runs our executive education in the Faculty of Business and Law. And she said, Jeremy, can you put together a few video clips around how do we think about innovation in times of crisis? And so I put together 3 webinars, 3 video clips. They were 10, 20, 30 minutes. And I know that was picked up by the Indonesian alumni. And then they asked me could I do something similar today? And so here we are today. So let me go ahead and bring up my slides for this presentation. And what I want to talk about is the idea of what I call lifting your innovation IQ. Now, you've just had a fascinating presentation on what I would consider product innovation. But we need to think about innovation more broadly. Product innovation is critical to the what I'll call the innovation pipeline, but there are also other ways that we can think about innovation, and that's what I want to talk about today, but there's a lot of other things that I'll go into. So let me just go ahead and move forward. In terms of the outline, I want to talk more about the nature of innovation, some examples. So I want to give you some definitive, concrete examples with respect to the different types of innovation, and then a little bit more on this idea of how do we think about innovation in times of crisis? Let's be honest, this COVID-19 coronavirus, we haven't seen anything like this in the world for decades. And how do we think about responding to that in terms of innovation, but also beyond the crisis? Because the reality is we know that COVID-19 will come to an end. There'll be a vaccine, whatever the case might be, and then we all move on. And so we want to continue to think about, and we want to continue to be innovative beyond just the crisis. And then I want to talk a little bit more about how can we as organizations, whether you're in business, whether you're in government, whether you're in higher education, a nonprofit organization, how can we actually get better at innovation? Because I think that's very, very important. So let me dive in. I'm assuming that most of you there in Indonesia would remember that there was actually a volcano in Indonesia back in 1815, or at least in the archipelago. And that was such a massive volcano that it had global effects, global impacts. And interestingly, as I was doing some research on Indonesia, what I discovered was that that volcano was so disastrous that it actually killed thousands of horses. And of course, think about the time frame here. In those days, horses were critical to humans and to human civilization. And when you lose your horse or your horses, what do? Well, born out of that was the bicycle. Now, this bicycle clearly doesn't look like the bicycles that we're familiar with today, but nonetheless, that crisis sparked innovation. And many would argue that innovation, or I should say crisis, is the mother of invention. It spurs on humans to come up with new ideas in times of crisis. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, but much broader than that as well. Let me just give you a couple of examples in terms of how this COVID-19 has impacted innovation, just particularly based on my experience here in Australia. So one of the concerns, maybe you have the same concern in Indonesia, was that we don't have enough ventilators in this country, or at least in our hospitals. And so there was a concern, people, particularly older individuals who came down with the virus, that they can't breathe. And the problem was Australia does not manufacture its own ventilators. We have to import those in from Southeast Asia, from Europe, from the United States. And so interestingly, in Queensland, for those of you who know anything about Australia, on the East Coast is the state of Queensland, Brisbane is the capital. Their director of manufacturing in the Queensland government challenged a race car team, Jamie Whincup, we call it the Super V8 cars here in Australia, challenged them to come up with a prototype for a ventilator that could be manufactured in Australia. So that first one on the upper left-hand side, that's a ventilator now being manufactured in Australia, which didn't exist before. If you go down below that, referencing Curtin University, think about Blackboard. So as an academic, and I suspect maybe the same thing happened in Indonesia, all of a sudden, all of our face-to-face classes disappeared. Everything had to go online, and it had to go online very quickly because we could no longer meet face-to-face. So in terms of Curtin University, there was a lot of innovation around how we use our learning management systems. And by the way, and that's still taking place today. So that spurred on some online teaching innovation development. In the upper right-hand side is Centrelink. Now this is a government agency. This is a government agency that basically works with those who need government dependence. They need government handouts for whatever reason that might be. And of course, the government operates retail, what I'll call retail storefronts, and everybody comes together face to face. Well, all of a sudden, again, they had to shut all those down. So everything had to be driven online. And so Centrelink because they reach so many Australians, had to innovate very quickly around their online processes. The last one, for those of you who have spent any time in Perth, you would recognize Margaret River, which is the famous wine region down south. Now, I happen to do research in the wine industry, so I'm very familiar with Margaret River. There's a winery called Wise Winery. Now, this winery not only produces wine, but they also produce gin. By the way, this isn't gin, but gin is clear. This is water, by the way. They produce gin, and they have a still to produce that gin. Well, very quickly, they decided, look, we need hand sanitizer. So we're going to use this gin still, and they actually started manufacturing hand sanitizer for those in the Margaret River region. So that's just some examples of how crises can actually spur innovation. Now let me define innovation, because again, your previous presentation and discussion was very much focused on a product innovation. Now, no doubt there were some process innovations going on behind that, but what I want us to do is, if we're going to have a better understanding in terms of lifting what I call our innovation IQ, or intelligence quotient, let's define it. So this is what I would call just a classic textbook definition or conceptualization of innovation. And on that, it's a 2x2 matrix. On the far left-hand quadrant, the lower left-hand quadrant, what is called incremental innovation. And by the way, I'm going to give you examples of each one of these, so I won't go too far ahead yet. But essentially what that is suggesting is that we look at our existing markets, our existing market segments for those of us who are in business. And then on the lower hand side, that can be technology related, and it can be process related, and it can be business model related, which I'll talk about in just a second. But what we tend to see a lot of companies do is engage in incremental innovation. And again, I'll give you some examples in just a second. On the right-hand side, that lower right-hand quadrant is what we can describe as more disruptive or transformational innovation. And again, that's really focused perhaps more on new types of technology or new processes in existing markets, for example. On the upper right-hand side is what is called radical innovation. Now, this is where we're really talking innovation that's just rarely seen, or we don't see these kinds of innovations very often. Again, I'll give you some examples in just a second. That would very much be focused on new market segments, and it would certainly be a new technology or a new process or a new business model. Now, the other one that I think a lot of people don't probably think about much is in that upper left-hand quadrant is so-called architectural innovation. That is innovation that can be applied across many different applications. And again, I'll give you some examples. Now, that's what I call the ideation view. But there are other ways that we can define and think about innovation beyond just a product. So let me go ahead and talk about those now. Now, this is an alternative topology. Yes, if you look at number one, that is indeed products. So we think about products and services. We tend to see, in terms of probably our own experience, we tend to think about product innovations or maybe a service innovation. Let's go below that, number two, a process innovation. So that is maybe more, if you will, kind of behind the scenes. Think about your own organizations. Think about the processes that you rely on every day to get work done. It could be a research and development process. It could be a communication process, whatever that process, manufacturing process, whatever that process is. We also need to think about innovation in terms of how do we improve those processes so that we can be more efficient and more effective. That's another form of innovation. Number three would be called marketing innovation. Now, again, this is probably an innovation that we don't necessarily think a lot about. I've just kind of talked about a few examples here. For example, could be in packaging. Again, going back to the wine industry, one of the things that we're seeing in the wine industry is the idea of they've got this thinner, a glass bottle. They've now innovated around a thinner type of glass, which is more environmentally friendly. Some would argue that's a packaging or marketing innovation. Below that is number four, organizational innovation. So this could be, for example, how we think about structuring our organizations. So you might have somebody, you know, at the top, a chief executive officer, a managing director, a president, and then you've got multiple layers below that in terms of how we structure the organization. Maybe there's some innovation around how we structure an organization. I would argue that organizational innovation, in my mind, is largely related to the business model, how we create, capture, and deliver value. And I'm going to talk about some examples here in just a second around business model innovation. So this is yet another way we can think about defining innovation. The reason that I want to talk about these definitions is because what I want us to do, if we're going to be more innovative in our own organizations, we need to understand that innovation is broad. And there are many ways that we can think about being more innovative, not just around a product, although that's exceptionally important, but in some organizations, like a government agency, you're not producing a product, you have a service. It doesn't mean that you can't innovate. Of course you can. And so we need to be clear on that. So let's go ahead and look at another one. This was one that I just recently came across. It's called the circumstance view. And essentially what this looks at is the idea of what kind of circumstance do you as an organization find yourself in? So let's think about the current climate, or at least the last 6 months. We have found ourselves in a very uncertain environment with coronavirus. What's going to happen? What's going to happen next? So if you look at that kind of top layer there where the uncertainty is high, both internal and external to the organization, what this definition suggests is that the business model is under threat of disruption. And I would suggest that if you're a retailer, so think about retail stores, maybe it's clothing retail, whatever the case might be, in the last 6 months, they've been under threat because why? You can't have any customers in your store. And so, you know, we got to think about how do we redesign, how do we innovate around the business model, which might include, in that example, a lot more online selling. And I'm going to come back to that point. So when you think about more of a revolutionary type of circumstance, the one in the middle or below that is what is called more evolutionary. That is, maybe there's moderate to high levels of uncertainty in the environment. That could be internal or external. And so essentially, when we find ourselves in that kind of circumstance, we need to think about how do we adapt. It could be changes to our technology. It could be restructuring of the organization. It could be things as simple as our cost base, our product portfolio. Maybe we've got an existing product or products that we need to add to, for example. So that's another way to think about innovation. Now, the lower level is what is called more incremental innovation. Uncertainty is low. Now, in my own experience, I don't see the world as ever certain. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the world that we live in today, whether that's in Indonesia, whether that's here in Australia, Southeast Asia, in Europe, in the United States. There's a lot of uncertainty. But if you find yourself in an environment where things are pretty stable, things are pretty certain, then what this model or topology suggests is that it could be as simple as looking at more continuous improvement of the organization. Maybe it's processes, maybe it's your products, you're just incrementally improving your products, for example. That's just yet another example of how we can define and think about innovation and what it is and what it looks like. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So what I want to do here is, now let's talk about some examples. So the first one that I list here is the idea of incremental innovation, cherry Coca-Cola. You know, there's the classic Coke, and the classic Coke, they tweak the ingredients a little bit, come up with a cherry flavored drink. That's cherry Coca-Cola. I would argue that's incremental innovation. Now, on the right-hand side, I'm not sure if anybody recognizes this, but as I was doing my research around innovation in Indonesia, this was kind of a classic model. This is a wooden radio that was invented in Indonesia. So it's taking the premise of a radio, but it's simply using wood as the material rather than, let's say, plastic or aluminum or steel. Incremental innovation. That's an Indonesian innovation, by the way. Now let's look at transformational examples. So the one on the left-hand side is, of course, the Apple iPhone. I've got an Apple iPhone. I think probably just about everybody in the world these days has an Apple iPhone. But let's not forget that Apple did not create or invent the smartphone. The smartphone was around quite a while before Apple created the iPhone. But when Apple did create the iPhone, that was a very transformational product, very transformational technology. They sort of rewrote the rules, as it were, in terms of what a smartphone looks like, what it's designed to do, how it functions. Very transformational. Let's look at those examples on the right. Amazon, Airbnb, Uber. These are what I would call business model transformational innovation. So I was around living in the United States. I'm from the United States originally, before I moved to Australia. I worked in the tech sector in the United States. And I remember in the late 1990s when Amazon first launched, first started their business, that all they did was sold books, but it was a different business model. That is, you didn't go to a retail shop to buy a book, you bought your book online. It was one of the original transformational online shopping models. And of course, Amazon today sells just about everything. Airbnb is very similar. So think about Airbnb, rather than go to book a hotel. Well, now you can book somebody's house. If I want to go down to Margaret River, or I want to fly to Auckland, New Zealand, I book a house through Airbnb. It's a business model innovation, just as Uber is a business model innovation in the taxi industry. Why? Because they're rewriting the rules of how you create, capture, and deliver value. Those are business model innovations, and they're transformational. Okay, let's move on. Another example, this was one that I came across several years ago here in Western Australia, the state government based here in Perth. What they had was they had multiple departments, as any government does, or multiple agencies, all with their own finance systems, their own payroll systems, their own procurement systems. Everybody was kind of doing their own thing. And what they decided to do was, we don't want to have everybody spending money on the same types of applications. We're basically going to create one application that serves all of these agencies. And so what they were trying to do is capture economies of scale. Things like, we want to lower our costs, we want to improve responsiveness to our internal customers. And so they created a massive software program that every agency used together and simultaneously. I would argue for them, that was more of a transformational type of innovation. Okay, let's look at some other examples. Now, if you look at the graphic on the left, by the way, does anybody recognize that person? Because this is one of your scientists based in Indonesia. Don't ask me his name, I don't remember. But what I do know is he was very instrumental in developing 4-dimensional brain activity scanning technology, which is, quite frankly, pretty revolutionary and pretty radical. Again, another Indonesian involved in that process. That's a radical, I would call that a radical innovation. The graphic in the middle is the Wright brothers airplane. So think about going back way back to the early 20th century. The airplane was a radical innovation. On the right-hand side is what I would call a very humble innovation, but it's a radical innovation, and I'll tell you why. This is sea-land containers. So you think about shipping, how we ship products around the world. You've got ports of entry, you've got semi-trailers that have to haul around our goods and services, or products that we sell. That sea, or that container, revolutionized the shipping industry. That still stands today. This is going back to the 1950s. And by the way, it actually changed the way that product manufacturers manufacture their products so that they can box them and fit them into these containers. It's completely transformed global shipping around the world from that very humble early days of the shipping container. That was very much a radical innovation. Let's look at some more examples. So this is what I call architecture. So memory foam. Memory foam was originally designed by NASA in the So when you sit in an airplane, when you fly, it's got memory foam in it. that memory foam, think about it today, that memory foam is applied to all kinds of different products, beds, pillows, it's all over. So that's very much what I would call an architectural innovation because it's used in multiple applications. Just like the graphic in the middle, which is of course the microchip. The microchip is everywhere. So it was designed originally in more kind of an electronic application, but now it resides in just about anything and everything. So that was very much architectural. The one on the right, by the way, is vulcanization, rubber. Think about how we apply and use rubber in multiple applications. And so it's an architectural innovation. It can be applied in so many different ways. Lastly, the one on the bottom, because I'm an academic and I have to mark students' papers, what I did years ago was I created a feedback process which has worked extremely well for me over the years, and I apply it to virtually every assessment that I have to mark. And what it does is it gives rich contextual feedback to my students, which they love, but I can use it over and over and over again in the multiple units that I teach. And so I would call that an architectural type of innovation. And so those are just some, what I would suggest are examples of how we can think about innovation. Innovation is not just about a product, as important as that is. It has multiple applications in our organizations. Now, one of the things that I want to kind of transition into now is thinking more about how do we get better at being innovative. You know, some of us obviously are scientists. We get paid to innovate. We get paid to come up with innovations. That's important, but most of us aren't that kind of don't have that kind of skill set. Nonetheless, if we're going to be better at innovating in our organizations, I want to talk a little bit more about that. So let me just give you a couple of examples here in terms of what's changing in the world based on what's happening with COVID-19, with coronavirus. So the graphic on the left, now admittedly, this is data from the United States, but I think it's highly relevant to us as well here in Southeast Asia. If you look at the use of electronic commerce to buy goods and services, so look at that graphic on the left-hand side, starting from about 2009, roughly 5% of the population in the United States was using the internet to buy their products over the internet. Now look at the first quarter of 2021. The growth rate or the penetration rate has grown 10 years in 3 months. So what COVID has driven is we're now doing everything online, even this webinar today. I think if it would have been last year, I probably would have flown up to Jakarta and I would have met you face to face. We can't do that now. So the point I want to make here is extreme rapid growth in the use of e-commerce and the internet. And of course, you know, video calls like this. If you look at the right-hand side, again, still this is US centric, but nonetheless, what it suggests is that 75% of US consumers, you're now looking at you know, different websites, different stores, different brands in terms of where they want to shop and what they want to buy. And 60% of these are saying that we will switch our brand during this coronavirus crisis. So what I want to suggest here is that particularly for those of you who work in a organization that produces and sells products, at least in the context of the United States, what customers are telling us is that, you know what, I'm going to probably buy a different brand from the one that I'm buying now. So that has potentially large implications for the extent to which that we need to be more innovative around the products that we do sell. Because if you can't differentiate in some way, guess what? Somebody else, a competitor down the street will, and customers will go buy from them. So the previous example that we saw of a product innovation, you know, fantastic. And we need to see more of that. And if we don't have some level of differentiation for our products, then customers are going to go somewhere else. So I think that's very telling and revealing in terms of how we think about what's going on in the current crisis with respect to innovation. Now, one of the things that I want to suggest in terms of how do we think about going forward in terms of innovation. So as I mentioned in my opening remarks, of course, the crisis will come to an end, but we don't want to stop innovating when the crisis ends. We want to continue to innovate continuously. And so this is some research that came out by McKinsey & Company. McKinsey & Company is one of the world's largest and probably most well-known strategy consulting firms. And what they suggest is that if we want to understand and learn from the crisis situation that we're in now is, what do we call new learning? So again, kind of coming from an academic perspective, there's a term or a concept in the literature called sense making. That is, what I would encourage you to do in your own organizations is to step back, have a look at what's happened in the last 3 months, the last 6 months. What's gone on within your organizations? What can we learn from this crisis that will help us to do better the next time we have a crisis, or that will help us build more resilience in our organization so that we can become, in fact, more innovative? So that's one thing we need to do, is take a step back, understand what's happened, what's working, what's not working, how can we improve? The next one is the idea of new attitudes. So this is really more or less focused on thinking about consumers, customers, your customers, consumers that buy your products or services. So how have the attitudes have changed? What's changed since coronavirus back in January, March? And certainly in my own experiences, what's changed is everybody's now thinking about online. How do we conduct business online? How do we buy? How do we shop online? So we really, if we're going to be better at innovating, we need to understand what are the attitudes of our customers. And if you're a government agency, we all have a client or a customer. What are their attitudes? Understand what those new attitudes are, new habits. So again, the idea of, what's the behavior of customers, your customers? What's the behavior of your clients? So I'm looking at my own experience as an academic here in Perth. Certainly, a lot of the new habits now, simply because we've had to go online, is we really have to be innovative around how we engage students, because now they've got new habits. That is, they're doing so much online, whereas in the past, maybe it was much more face-to-face. So be aware of what are the new habits of customers and clients, your own customers and clients. And then fourthly is the idea of new needs. So what I've learned is, particularly in China, where we believe the coronavirus started, is many companies in China have come up with new products, new services, for example, insurance services or products that never existed before, because coronavirus is driving the need to come up with new products and services. And so what I would encourage you to do is, what's what so-called unwanted needs, that is, what can you do from an innovation perspective that's maybe never been done before to satisfy customer needs or client needs and requirements. So that's one way we can think about becoming better at innovating. Another one that I think is very important, simply in this slide, what it suggests here is that, and by the way, this slide, again, is from McKinsey & Company. What it's looking at is going back to the global financial crisis. I remember that well. So now we're going back to 2007, 2008, 2009, but simply what this graphic suggests is that if you're going to be more successful as an organization, and again, if you're in the private sector, if you're higher education, a government agency, wherever you work, if we're going to improve, we need to be better at innovating. And what this graphic suggests is, if you look at the blue line, there's a black line and a blue line. What they studied was the Standard & Poor's 500. It's kind of a classic grouping of companies, large companies. What they found was that the top innovators are outperforming the lower innovators by 30%. What I'm simply suggesting here is that innovation pays off. It works. It's important. It's necessary. We want to be better innovators. Why? Because we can add more value. And so this is really a good graphic that suggests that that's needed and necessary. The other one, again, because of the nature of this session today, is I want us to think about skill sets. We all have skills, we all have capabilities and competencies, and we all want to get better at those skills and capabilities and competency. What this suggests is that relative to 2015, so go down and look at the list in 2015 on the right-hand side, look at creativity, which was number 10 back in 2015. In 2020, now it's number 3. And look at creative thinking, complex problem solving. The reason that I point this out is because creativity is critical to innovation. And so what you might want to consider as an alumni group, maybe in sessions in the future, is having somebody come in and lecture on creativity. Some would argue it's a lost art. We all have gifts of creativity. How do we engage our creativity better so that we can improve our innovation levels? And what this suggests is that in 2020, creativity is a critical skill to have, and we need to get better at it. Now, mastering innovation is something that I want to talk about here, and I'll be probably getting close to the end of my portion of the presentation. This, again, is some research done by McKinsey & Company. What I want to point out here is simply this. If you look at, this is purely from a financial performance perspective, but what it's suggesting is that if you look at that graphic that is black, the black graphic versus the kind of the gray line versus the black line, is that what McKinsey has found over the years in their own research is there are essentially 8 key facets of getting better at innovating. And what they found was that as organizations master or get better at those 8 dimensions, their financial performance, their economic performance goes up. Those who fail to master those 8 dimensions, their performance goes down. And so as a lead-in, what I want to suggest here is that we need to get better at innovating. And the next slide will actually give us a little bit more insight in terms of how we might do that, or how we might go about that. So let me go ahead and have a look at this. So the first one is something that I call a cycle of innovation. The first one is the notion of aspire. That is, we want to be inspirational. We want to motivate and inspire individuals within our organizations to be better at innovation. How do you do that? You measure it. So the idea of KPIs, or key performance indicators. Have innovation in your own organizations. If you're going to accelerate it at a high level and get better at it, you need to be able to measure it. So one of the things, for example, that I try to encourage, because I'm sitting on some senior management teams here at Curtin University, is whenever we have meetings, and I think these days we probably all have a lot of meetings, what I try to do in our meetings is I try to encourage our team. Every meeting must have on the agenda a discussion of some kind about innovation. And not only that, but how do we create more key performance indicators so that we can actually measure our success around innovation. That's one way we can think about it. The other one is the idea of choose. So again, one of the things that I talk a lot about as I teach, particularly MBA students, is the idea of we need to make some choices when it comes to our strategies. What I would suggest here is that if we're going to get better at innovation, we need to think about, again, do we need to innovate around products? Do we need to innovate around services? Do we need to innovate our business model? Where do we need to start engaging more around innovation and make some definitive choices around those areas? And ultimately, yes, we have to leverage resources and capabilities to deliver on that. But the point is, rather than just talk about innovation, make some very definitive choices around what you're actually going to do. The idea of discovery is, I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but we need to understand who our customers are. What do our customers want? What do they value? Again, if you're a product manufacturer, who's the customer? If you're a institution of higher education, our students, what do our students value? What do they need? What do they want? If you're a government agency, what do the citizens want? And so we need to discover and understand what they value. And then we can better match our innovation skill sets to them. The next one is the idea of evolve. And so having been in business and academia for 25 years, one of the things that I've seen in some of the organizations that I've worked for is a lot of companies, a lot of organizations tend to want to be status quo. That is, we keep everything the same. In the modern world, I don't know how that works. So we really need to think about how do we shift our mindsets so that we're not just status quo, that we're pushing the boundaries of innovation to get better at it. The idea of accelerate. So again, look, I'm not a scientist, but I suspect that coming up with innovations can take a long time. And I think the point we want to make here is that how much time do we have now in the modern world where we're so interconnected, things are moving so fast paced. So the point is, how can we maybe develop more efficient processes behind the scenes as we try to innovate so that we can move those innovations through more quickly and rapidly? In other words, at greater speed. Scale. Again, this is kind of going back to the idea of thinking about who my customer is. What's the customer market segment? Because we might come up with a really nice, let's say, for example, product innovation, but if I can only sell it to 5 customers, what's the point of that? And so what we really want to try to do is we want to try to match and scale our innovations based on our customer market segments. I mean, some companies might have, literally hundreds of thousands of customers. Others might have 50, 20, 500, whatever it is. We want to launch at the appropriate scale so that, of course, we're getting a return on our investment. Extend. This is the idea of what I would call open innovation. That is based on my own experience working in industry. The company that I used to work for, we had a mentality that we knew everything. All of our innovation came from within the organization because we thought we were the best at it. I would suggest to you that today, that might not necessarily be a good model. That is open innovation. Now we begin to extend beyond the walls of our own company. Maybe we have a partnership with the university. Maybe we have a partnership with a science group based in the United Kingdom or here in Australia or in Indonesia. So it's much more about collaborating with multiple parties, internal to the organization, but also external. Why? Because no one organization has all of the world's knowledge. We need to expand and understand how we can leverage experts from around the world to create better innovations within our own organizations. And then lastly, what I would call mobilize. So this is very much about the human element, I would argue. That is, if we want to be better at innovating, and not just, by the way, the scientists, or not just the research and development personnel who have an office down the road, if we want all of our employees to be better innovators, then we need to motivate and reward them. So think about this, I guess, more from a human resources management perspective. How can you build in systems within your organizations to motivate and reward your employees to actually come up with ideas and innovations? And there's some classic examples like 3M in the United States. I think Google does this. I think every employee has a day a week to come up with their own ideas. I think those are great models, and I would encourage you to think about in your own organizations how you can inspire and motivate and reward. And maybe that's financial reward. Maybe it's a vacation, a holiday, whatever it might be. How can we put those processes in place so that we can drive greater levels of innovation within our own organization? So that's a really good model, a cycle of innovation that I think will help our organizations get better at innovating. Okay, I'm going to end it there. I think it's about right on time, so I'm going to end it there, and I think we're going to open it up maybe to a few questions. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you for the presentation, Professor Galbreath. Indeed, very insightful information we get. Now I'd like to ask Natasya, what did we learn from Professor Galbreath?
Yes, Father. So we have learned about type of innovation, and as quoted by Professor Galbreath, innovation is the single most important determinant of a firm's long-term survival, particularly during this new normal era. And it is interesting that creativity is one of the important top 10 skills of the future work. The cycle of innovation is also very clear, as innovation is a continuous activity. Therefore, we need to keep innovating and also being creative. Okay, so now it's time for Q&A session, and we will be running this session for about 20 to 25 minutes. Once again, everyone, we would like to remind all of you who wish to ask any question, please go to Slido by clicking the link on the chat group. So shall we have a look at the interesting questions from Slido? So, okay, we've got several questions here. First question from Anonymous. What was the state of the government towards this potential to develop the Atsiri, and how could you or CUACI engage with the farmers and local government? I think this question is for Pak Syaifullah. Thank you. Pak Syaifullah, please. The screen is yours.
Yes. Actually, when we start the programs in our research center, we don't have anything. Yeah, we don't have anything. We just have a spirit, and then I try to organize the team from the university, and then we first go around Aceh, and then we try to find what the problem faced by the farmers. And then after we got many problems, we try to discuss with our friend in the university. We report to Pak Rector about the problem of the farmers. And then we try to develop the strategy and programs. And then after that, I come to government, yeah, especially planning board, development planning board, Bapeda, Badan Perencanaan dan Pembangunan Daerah Aceh Province, ya, government of Aceh, and then we discuss a lot about the situation of the Pacholi oil industry in Aceh. Then after that, the government of Aceh via Bapeda do some planning, yeah, to create the regional planning document. We do some research, yeah, research project with the government, and then we develop together what we have to do and many things. So this program start together with the government and also with the university. And then after that, we try to develop our collaboration with the private sector, yeah, because it's very important we include the private sector in this program, because the private sector can buy the product of the community. So they send the product to abroad, yeah, they export the product, they can function as off-taker. So it's very, very important we put off-taker for the community product here. And then in the university side, our research center developed many activity. We got the money from everywhere, yeah. We actually the university the university has not give the budget for our research center, because it should be competitive based. So I can get the money from the university, but we have to do competition with other researchers. So I and my team then create many proposals. We send the proposal to university, government, private sector, and everywhere, central bank, and everywhere. And then it is actually not easy, because I do this. It has been 5 years actually. Yeah? It has been 5 years. Start from 2015. Yeah. So I just show you the good thing, but the bad thing, we have to fight with many situations. We don't have money. we have to convince the government. It's very, very, very hard. Yeah, it's not easy. So we need to have good spirit, yeah, to fight in this situation. So the important thing is we need to work hard with the how to say dengan penuh keyakinan ya. Jadi we work hard, but kita yakin, we sure we can do something together. We can do something ya. So it is impossible I myself to do everything here. Yeah, so we try to develop our job together with our friend and also with many institutions. So I think like that, yeah.
Okay, thank you Pak Syaifullah for the answer. And
oh, one more thing, yeah. One more thing, actually, we have a collaboration with CUACI. Yeah, we have collaboration with CUACI, where CUACI has been stand for reselling process of our products. So every CUACI member, I think, yeah, some of them has our product from our research center, and others we try to develop from the activity from Australian awards, yeah, Australian award. But this year we are not lucky. Maybe next time we can do something new proposal for our programs. So that's why when we launch our new products, President CUACI, Dr. Harry has been invited and speak to our rector. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
all right, thank you for answering Pak Syaifullah, and thank you Nurmala Simbolon for the question.
Alright, shall we move on to the second question? Let's see. Okay, to Dr. Jeremy Galbreath. What are some strategies, or how can people or smaller organizations build more resilience against the bigger competitors in this era of new normal?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because what we tend to find is large organizations, typically will have more resources. So what I would suggest is that it probably comes down to inspiration, motivation. I mentioned in my presentation the idea of creativity. Interestingly, I have a colleague here in Perth who actually teaches on creativity. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been taught or have been a part of a seminar or a webinar on creativity, but that may be one way that smaller organizations that are smaller and more flexible, if not more nimble, is how do you skill up your employees to be more creative? You've got an advantage probably speed because you're smaller, but I would suggest that how do you build the skill sets so that you can be more innovative? And one way that you might be able to do that is make sure that all of your employees are getting some education on creativity, how we use. So that may be one way. I think small organizations will always have the disadvantage of not having a lot of resources, but just work smarter, be more creative. And ultimately, how can I be different? How can I differentiate myself from my large competitors? So we need to understand, obviously, larger organizations, larger competitors, what they're doing, but how can we create something that's different from what they're doing? That attracts customers, that attracts attention. So that's what I would suggest. That can be one way to do that.
Okay, thank you there, Dr. Jeremy.
Okay, we still have sometimes. So our next question is from Manak Sim. Is to Galbreath. How can inclusive business model practiced by Pak Syaiful be scaled up in Indonesia? Scaling of this model is very crucial to ensure that Indonesia will get more significant impact. Thank you. Maybe Pak Syaiful will answer first.
Yes, actually in Aceh, we have a bad experience when the biggest industrial of gas, Arun, yeah, I think 30 years ago, in Aceh, we have a very big company, very big innovation at the time. But after 30 years, they explore our gas, oil in Aceh, but the community still in poor. Now, if we open the data from the BPS, yeah, Bureau Pusat Statistik, we can find that the biggest people, the biggest poor people in Aceh, it's established in Aceh Utara, where the company there, yeah. So why the biggest company did not give us some good impact to our community, even though they have a very huge asset, very huge resources, very huge money, but our community is still in poor. We think that because the company implement the exclusive innovation, there is some program but not inclusive, yeah. So the community is not included in the innovation process. The community only see what happened and only get some money from development program by government from tax, yeah. It's not good for our prosperity actually. So when we develop our program, we learn from this mistake, yeah. We learn from this mistake. So we try to develop new approach for innovation. Innovation should be inclusive. If we want to improve our community, we need to put the community in the good part of the innovation process. That's why we think and develop the strategy for inclusive innovation. That's mean innovation for all, innovation for all the people. All the people have been the same chance to have something from the innovation process. That's it. Yeah.
All right, Professor Galbreath, would you like to add some answers?
Yeah, I would add to that. I mean, I think Dr. Muhammad is right in terms of the idea of inclusive innovation, but certainly one of the things that I've learned living in Australia, because it's such a remote location, is what we tend to find. And I'm not exactly sure what it's like in Indonesia, although I know you're a very large country, but Australians tend to think very insular. That is, they tend to think about their own market, what's happening in Australia. What I would suggest is if you're going to scale up business model or scale up your innovation, you need a global mindset. You really need to think beyond your own borders. So what is the product or what is the service that I'm offering, which might be and hopefully is applicable to my home country, whether that's Indonesia or whether that's Australia. But I teach my students to have a global mindset. So you're always thinking about what are the market opportunities outside of the borders. And so the reason that we do that is because we have access to so many more customers. And then if we execute that strategy well, then of course we can scale up a business very rapidly. We have examples, there's many of examples of companies that operate internationally. So what I would argue is that there's a marketing dimension that you need to think about, but also think about not just the inclusive innovation in Indonesia, which is needed, but what about outside of Indonesia? How can we scale that up and take our product or service around the world? And that will help you to grow very rapidly.
All right, thank you to both Professor Jeremy and Dr. Muhammad.
Yeah, shall we have a look at the next question? So we've got one from Yan Kevin Warjukur. It's for Pak Syaifullah. The question is, doing some innovation and asking for support from the government sometimes is not easy, especially for young generation to convince them. Is there any tips, Pak Syaifullah?
The first tip is you should have the very big spirit, yeah, to face many problem in around of us, yeah, and then don't give up, because our life will be always make us down, but we have to wake up and face the problem and never give up, because we learn from the problems, and the next step we will solve the problem. And the second thing, we need to have a very good communication, yeah, so improve our communication skill, because one of the important thing when we talk to the government is communication. So it's also include about the how to master the data. So we need when we talk to every people in government, we should present them data. So we have to have good information and valid information about the situation of our problems. So another thing is build our team, yeah. We can't fight alone, yeah. We need a team, we need friends. So try to find the good team, yeah, and then we can develop together first what the aim of our team. You know, in the world, people can be work by money, but we don't have enough money to make the people work. And also people can work with power, yeah, with power. And also we don't have enough power to make the people work. But one thing we can do is the value. So we can create the value that we can fight together to implement the value. So do first in our team, yeah, we agree together with our value. Why we do this? What will happen if we fail, and many things. So we can talk to our team, and then we can have the similar, the same spirit to fight the problem in our community. And then the third one is we need to find the real problem in our community. Yeah. For example, if I talk about the artificial intelligence, for example, yeah, artificial intelligence, that is very high technology. But my community is don't need artificial intelligence at the moment. Yeah. My community, our community is need how they get the money and buy the food, how to develop their farmer, their farming and anything. So our community need really simple problem actually, and we as academic community, we can do something to solve their problem. So we can think globally, but we act locally. So find the real problem of our community and then try to find what kind of knowledge and innovation we can share to them. So this is very important because a lot of lecture in university, they have been waste the time to write many papers, yeah, to do something, but our community is still in poor. This is we need to come to community and look at them very closely and then try to find what their problem is. Yeah, I think something like that.
Thank you, Pak Syaifullah, for your answers.
Okay, so our next question is for Professor Jeremy Galbreath. In a service industry, particularly in the health sector, do you have any suggestions on what type of innovation that can be implemented without risk?
Well, to be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time in hospitals. I'm fortunate in the sense that I'm a fairly healthy person, so I don't go to hospitals a lot or a healthcare organization a lot. But I would suggest that it's all about people, isn't it? So I would argue that I would be looking at what I'll call the services side. So services innovation. How do you more effectively engage somebody who has to come into a healthcare organization or come into a hospital, making them feel more comfortable, making sure that they're looked after, making sure that there's not what I would call, too much bureaucracy or processes or paperwork. So I would argue that in fact, I would encourage you to do a lot of research on services innovation, customer service innovation, if not services marketing, because we're talking about a services organization here. There's a lot of material that you'll find on that. And so I think at the end of the day, healthcare organizations can absolutely be innovative. And I think it ultimately comes down to their processes. How do you develop more innovative, more effective, more efficient processes, but also your customer service, because we're dealing with human beings. That's what hospitals, that's what healthcare organizations do on a day-to-day basis. How do we make that better for our patients, for our clients? That's what I would suggest doing.
Right. Thank you, Professor Jeremy. That's really helpful.
So that's conclude our Q&A session. We apologize because we cannot answer all the questions, but if you do still have questions, please email directly to the speakers, and please find the speaker's email address on your screen. Yep, there we go. And now we have finished the professional development. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to Professor Galbreath and Dr. Syaiful for your insights.
Okay, everyone, I actually need to leave. Thank you for having me. And I'll say goodbye.
Thank you, Professor Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jeremy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Now it's time to sit back and relax a little bit. I'm sure we learned a lot from our guest speakers, but here's the interesting moment. We will have a fun game in store for all the participants. Test your memory. It's going to be a multiple choice game. The question will be about the two presentations from our speakers and about the general knowledge. So you may use your phone or laptop by clicking the link on the chat. But do please enter your full name when you register to play. Okay, that's not all. We will give a merchandise to 5 lucky winners. All right. Thank you all. How was it? And I'll let Mas Heri to announce the winner.
Okay. Thank you, Mas Fatur and Mbak Christine. Okay. Congratulations for 5 winners.
Thank you.
We have Joseph Ratna, Mbak Tiki, the number 2 is Bu Gesta, Bu Mbak Yuni, karena Bu Jos 2, we will continue as count as one. Bu Jo, Mbak Tiki, Mbak Desak, Mbak Mayuni, and Irene. 5 winners, congratulations. We will contact you for, you will get a prize from CUACI.
Thank you, CUACI.
Thank you, CUACI.
For the winners.
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the winners.
To all the winners.
Congratulations for all of you guys.
Should we play the game for before Kristen and Natasya? Okay.
Bajo kedua namanya.
Let's play the game together. Okay, let's start. Yeah. Bisa lihat di layar? Can you see on the? Okay, who's the current president of Indonesia? Joko Widodo. Okay. Next question. Indonesia is made up of approximately how many islands? 18,000. Yes.
80,000.
Yes. Number 3. What is the most northern point in Australia?
Darwin?
Darwin? No, not Darwin. Cape York. Yes.
Cape York.
What question? What constellation is depicted on the Australian flag?
Southern Cross.
Southern Cross or Southern Stars? Southern Cross. Yes. Correct. Why is the emu and the kangaroo depicted as Australia's Commonwealth coat of arms?
National icon.
No.
Cannot walk backwards. Cannot back.
Yes.
Cannot walk backwards.
Yeah. No, correct. This one. Which one is not presented in the Batik CUACI?
Eucalyptus.
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 Yeah, eucalyptus leaf. It's not in Batik CUACI. Correct. Next question. How many states does Australia have?
6.
And 6. Number 8. Which one is Australia under the flag?
Number 1.
The first one? The first one. That's correct. Number 9. Which one is John Curtin?
Number 2.
Third one.
3.
Second one.
No. Number 1 is Mr. Chulchil.
Second one, yeah.
Yeah, the third one. The
Third one.
The answer is the third one. Okay, number 10. What CUACI stands for?
Indonesian Pacific Alumni.
Okay. Number 3. Yes.
Kedua ya?
Correct. It's Indonesia, not Indonesia. Yeah, it's Indonesia.
5.
The same time. Okay, correct. Next question. When was CUACI established?
2017.
17. Now it's our third anniversary, correct? Next question. What is the theme of the CUACI Summit 2020?
Innovation and impact.
Innovation and
Innovation and impact. That's correct. Number 14. How many kangaroos are there?
8.
Is it 8 or 9? Okay.
8.
Okay, it's 8. Yes.
8. Oh, that's
Number 1.
congratulations.
Thank you. I will hand over to Mas Fathur and Mbak Christine. Please. Thank you.
Congratulations once again to all the winners. Thank you for your participation in the game. Now, let's sing happy birthday for CUACI together. We all the success for CUACI in the coming years ahead. So, everyone, please turn on your camera.
Everyone, please turn on your camera,
And
please.
your microphone, and let's sing happy birthday together. Okay, guys, are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2,
3.
3.
Happy
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
delay.
Happy. Guys, please.
One more? Can we one more?
Yeah, one more time.
Okay, one more.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
to you.
Happy
birthday to you.
Happy birthday to
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Yay.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay,
Yay.
give over to
Thank
Mas
you.
Fathur and Christian.
Thank you,
Yes,
Mas.
everyone, please keep your camera on. You can unmute yourself now. Keep your camera on. Keep your camera on so we could see each other and we want to take group photos. Baumi will take the photo. Okay. Once again, I'd like to say thank you for all the participants. Nice to meet you all. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Curtin University Alumni Chapter Indonesia. For the next agenda, we still have CUACI book project that will be started at 12:15 p.m. Jakarta time, followed by CUACI AGM, it should be soon. CUACI AGM at 12:05 p.m. Jakarta time that will be delivered in Bahasa Indonesia. If you are interested, please join us. And also follow our social media page on Facebook, Curtin Alumni Indonesia, and our Instagram at curtinalumni.indonesia to get the latest information about our learning session. So I'm Natasya. See you all next month.
See you guys. Thank you very much. See you next month.
Yes, you all next month on our first CUACI learning series.